Forever seemed like a promise etched in time. But for me, Mark, and Carly, my wife of 3.5 years, it unraveled unexpectedly over the course of 3 years, 5 months, and 20 days. Until just 2 weeks ago, my life had been a haven of tranquility and predictability, an existence I cherished. Let me take you through the journey that led to the disintegration of what I believed would be an everlasting love. Carly and I met against the backdrop of a career event during my master's degree. Despite our differing professional paths, a connection sparked between us. I found myself drawn to Carly, who spoke passionately about the company she worked for. Our love story unfolded after a few seemingly ordinary dates, a blossoming romance that gained momentum. Carly, just 6 months out of an engagement, and I, navigating the casual dating scene for the past 2 years, soon discovered a shared bond that felt like destiny. We tied the knot after my graduation, pledging our commitment to a love that we believed would withstand the tests of time. Little did I know that this commitment would soon be challenged by unforeseen events, shaking the very foundations of the life we had built together. Life took an unexpected turn 2 weeks ago, but to truly understand the unraveling of my peaceful existence, we have to go back to the beginning. I'm Mark, and the story begins with Carly, my wife of 3.5 years. Our paths crossed during my master's degree, a period marked by academic pursuits and the promise of a stable future. Carly and I met at a career event, an unlikely setting for what would soon become a significant chapter in our lives. Despite the incongruity of our degrees and professional pursuits, a connection sparked between us. Carly, passionate about the company she worked for, shared her enthusiasm during those early encounters. My career trajectory may not have aligned with hers, but the resonance between us was palpable. Our relationship unfolded gradually, blossoming after a few unassuming dates. Carly, just 6 months out of an engagement, and myself, navigating the complexities of casual dating for the past 2 years, found solace in each other's company. Despite our initial caution regarding closeness, once we took that leap, it became evident that we belonged together. The culmination of this connection was our marriage, a celebration of love and commitment. We vowed that our bond would endure the tests of time, promising each other a forever that, little did we know, would be challenged in ways we couldn't foresee. As fate would have it, I found a job close enough for Carly to maintain hers. My role in Network Solutions, situated in northern Indiana, had me overseeing a team of 12 as a project manager. Occasional travels for client setups, decided by a group led by my boss Dennis, added a dynamic element to my professional life. Little did I anticipate that a work-related trip, dealing with a challenging client, would be the catalyst for the upheaval that awaited us. Leanne, a valuable member of my team, faced an angry encounter during the trip, setting off a chain of events that would test the resilience of our relationship. Our journey began with promise and hope, but the shadows cast during those early days hinted at challenges that would later define our story. In my role as a project manager at Network Solutions in northern Indiana, I oversee a team of 12 individuals, occasionally traveling for client setups along with a group of colleagues. The dynamics within the team are usually smooth, but an encounter during one of our client visits threw everything into disarray. We were assigned to a challenging client, and tensions escalated quickly. The first sign of trouble emerged during our mid-morning implementation session. The client's supposed expert lost his temper with Leanne, one of my qualified team members. Recognizing the potential for a disastrous situation, I intervened and managed to diffuse the immediate tension with the site manager. The ordeal left Leanne visibly shaken, so I gave her some time to recover in the coffee room. Unfortunately, the tension escalated again after lunch. The client's expert, unable to contain his frustration, was eventually sent home. Despite efforts to calm Leanne, I decided to send her back to the hotel for the day. In an attempt to lift spirits and perhaps normalize the situation, I invited the team for a run around the park after dinner. Surprisingly, only Leanne accepted the invitation. During our jog, Leanne, perhaps influenced by the unusual circumstances, suggested running away together. I had to remind her of the company policies regarding relationships between managers and subordinates. Back in my hotel room later that evening, I found myself perplexed by the entire conversation. I chose not to discuss Leanne's actions with Carly, perhaps naively assuming that this was an isolated incident. Leanne, always displeased with the hierarchy at work, began showing signs of disrespect in the following days. When I inquired about her well-being, she insisted everything was fine, but her behavior struck me as oddly out of character. Little did I know that this was just the beginning of a series of events that would lead to a significant upheaval in my personal and professional life. 2 weeks into the work trip, the tension with our challenging client had subsided, but a different storm was brewing. Leanne, a member of my team, had become increasingly bold in her advances. It all started innocently enough, a few compliments here and there, lingering gazes that lasted longer than professional courtesy allowed. I shrugged it off initially, attributing it to the stress of the project. One evening, after a particularly trying encounter with the client, I invited my team to join me for a run to decompress. To my surprise, Leanne was the only one who accepted. As we jockeyed around the park, the conversation took an unexpected turn. Leanne suggested, half-jokingly, that we should run away together. Alarmed by the breach of professional boundaries, I reminded her of the company policies regarding relationships between managers and subordinates. Back in my hotel room, the situation escalated. Leanne knocked on my door, wearing only her coat. Bewildered, I greeted her, only to be met with a revelation that left me speechless. In an audacious move, she proceeded to reveal her body, making unwarranted advances. I firmly declined, advising her to cover up and return to her room. As she left with a disarming smile, I knew I had to address this disturbing encounter. Recognizing the gravity of the situation, I promptly emailed my boss, Dennis, seeking a private conversation about Leanne. The following morning, I approached Leanne cautiously, asking if everything was okay. She assured me with an unnerving composure that she was currently fine. Despite her professional competence, her behavior continued to strike me as perplexingly odd. Throughout the remainder of the trip, Leanne's actions remained unpredictable. She sent explicit texts, adding emoticons that veered between suggestive and disturbing. While dealing with a challenging client, I had to manage the unsettling dynamics within my own team. The situation had taken an unexpected turn, and I couldn't shake off the feeling that something deeper was amiss with Leanne. As we returned home, the unsettling incidents seemed to fade temporarily. However, a text from Leanne on a Sunday evening shattered any semblance of normalcy. It contained explicit content and emoticons, signaling an inappropriate interest. Perplexed, I confronted her about the message, to which she insisted she hadn't sent any texts the previous night. The bizarre incidents continued, creating an unsettling atmosphere. Leanne's actions hinted at a deeper issue, but the true extent only became clear in the days that followed, leading to a chain of events that would change the course of my life. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a shadow over the tumultuous events that followed, I found myself increasingly entangled in a web of confusion and discomfort. Leanne's inappropriate advances, which had begun with unsettling persistence, reached a crescendo on that fateful evening. In a bid to address the palpable tension, I mustered the courage to confront Leanne about her peculiar behavior. A simple inquiry about her well-being unraveled a series of events that seemed to defy explanation. The discovery of a mistakenly sent explicit text, intended for a lover but landing in my inbox, left me bewildered and concerned. Leanne, ever the enigma, maintained a facade of normalcy despite my growing unease. The incident took a bizarre turn when, during a late-night encounter, she appeared at my door with a cryptic agenda. With a tone that betrayed a change in demeanor, she hinted at wanting to show me something, revealing more than I ever anticipated. Unfazed by my rejection and advised return to her room, she departed with a mocking smile, leaving me in a state of perplexity. Recognizing the gravity of the situation, I wasted no time in informing Dennis, my boss, about the unsettling developments. An email seeking a private conversation about Leanne was dispatched, setting the stage for a confrontation that would irrevocably alter the course of my personal and professional life. Approaching Leanne the next morning, I attempted to broach the subject delicately, probing for any explanation for her erratic behavior. Her response, a nonchalant affirmation of her well-being, only deepened the mystery. The uneasy normalcy of the day, marked by doubts and suspicions, set the stage for a bizarre sequence of events that would unfold in the days to come. Tuesday night brought with it a text from Leanne, laden with explicit content and emoticons. The implications of her message were as perplexing as they were disturbing. The revelation that she hadn't seen me since our plane landed on Friday evening intensified the enigma, leaving me grappling with the unsettling realization that I might be entangled in a web of deceit. Navigating through a barrage of conflicting emotions, I decided to confront Leanne about the explicit text. Tentatively broaching the subject, I found myself met with denial. Leanne insisted that she had not sent any such message, attributing the confusion to her intense focus on troubleshooting a work problem. The sequence of events took a dark turn on Tuesday night as an unexpected assault left me unconscious and hospitalized. The assailant, Terry, Leanne's husband, harbored suspicions of an affair and violently attacked me, leaving me with a concussion, broken ribs, a hernia, and a broken hand. As my battered body lay in the hospital, the pieces of the puzzle started to fall into place, revealing a complex picture of Leanne's fractured psyche. Terry's revelation about Leanne's dissociative identity disorder, a consequence of severe childhood trauma, shed light on her erratic behavior. The subsequent days were a whirlwind of police involvement, legal complications, and a strained recovery. The revelation of Leanne's dual personalities, her troubled past, and the unfolding drama surrounding Terry's assault forced me to confront the fragility of the reality I once knew. In the aftermath of this bizarre episode, I grappled with the aftermath, attempting to make sense of a life that had taken an unexpected and harrowing turn. The pieces of my shattered existence seemed irreparable, setting the stage for a journey into the unknown with a future clouded by uncertainty. The trip had taken an unexpected turn. The tensions with the client were escalating, and Leanne, a member of my team, became the focal point of the turmoil. The first signs of trouble surfaced when their supposed expert lost his temper, directed at Leanne during a morning meeting. I stepped in to diffuse the situation, working closely with their site manager to maintain some semblance of professionalism. Despite our efforts, the tension persisted and, after lunch, their so-called expert was sent home. I could sense Leanne's unease, and I gave her the space to recover in the coffee room. Little did I know, this was just the beginning of a series of unsettling events. That evening, after a seemingly uneventful dinner with the team, I invited them for a run around the park to unwind. To my surprise, Leanne was the only one who accepted. It was during that jog that the professional boundaries blurred when she suggested running away together. I had to remind her of the company policies regarding relationships between managers and subordinates. Back in my hotel room, I was left perplexed by the encounter. I shared the details with Carly, but omitted Leanne's inappropriate suggestions. Leanne, always displeased with my role as her superior, started showing signs of disrespect, which only escalated as the days went by. The next morning, I cautiously approached Leanne, asking if everything was okay. Her response was a curt, "Currently, I'm fine, Mark." Despite her demonstrated skills in her job, her behavior had taken a turn for the odd. I decided to inform my boss, Dennis, about the situation, seeking a private conversation upon our return. As the trip continued, everything seemed relatively normal until Sunday evening. That's when I received an unexpected text from Leanne, describing explicit content and filled with emoticons. It was a text clearly meant for a lover, but mistakenly sent to me. The revelation was shocking, and I couldn't fathom the idea of Leanne, seemingly professional, being involved in such matters. I chose not to respond immediately, deciding to address the matter in person the next day. However, my plans took an unforeseen turn. On Tuesday night, as I was getting into my car, someone unexpectedly called my name. Before I could react, a force struck me, rendering me unconscious. I woke up in the hospital, the police informing me about Terry, Leanne's husband, who believed I was having an affair with his wife. The violent attack had left me with a concussion, broken ribs, a hernia, and a broken hand. Terry had left copies of Leanne's explicit texts and pictures next to my unconscious body, further complicating the situation. Carly's reaction to the news was anything but supportive. She expressed her wish for my painful demise, and I spent the night in the hospital under observation. The following day, I returned home to an unwelcoming atmosphere. Carly, rather than offering comfort, was dressed provocatively and revealed her intention to go on a date as an act of revenge. Despite my attempts to reason with her, Carly was adamant about ending our marriage. The marriage that had once held promises of forever was unraveling, torn apart by accusations, misunderstandings, and the aftermath of Leanne's disturbing actions. The aftermath of the assault marked the beginning of the end for Carly and me. Despite my efforts to explain Leanne's mental health struggles and the strange turn of events, Carly remained adamant about seeking a divorce. The legal machinery was set in motion, and we found ourselves entangled in a process neither of us had anticipated. Carly's accusations reverberated through the courtroom, painting a picture of a marriage irreparably damaged by alleged infidelity and betrayal. The court ordered counseling sessions, a last-ditch effort to salvage what remained of our relationship. Reluctantly, I attended these sessions, not out of hope for reconciliation, but to protect my reputation from further damage. The counseling sessions took a negative turn as the counselor attempted a divide-and-conquer approach. Carly presented her grievances, and then we swapped chairs, each of us facing the other's accusations. The counselor probed into our feelings, attempting to bridge the gap that had grown between us. However, my resolute stance against staying married to someone who weaponized personal life as revenge remained unwavering. Carly's pleas for communication and cooperation fell on deaf ears. Despite her emotional appeals and attempts to understand my perspective, I couldn't overlook the change in tone in her messages and voicemails during those tumultuous weeks. It became increasingly clear that our paths had diverged irreversibly. After complying with the court-ordered counseling, my attorney informed me of the impending court appearance. The judge, acknowledging the irreparable nature of our relationship, granted the petition for divorce. It was a legal resolution to a personal tragedy, and I found myself navigating the complexities of a life now unshackled from a marriage that had crumbled under the weight of misunderstandings and accusations. Carly's persistent pursuit didn't end with the legal resolution. She waited for me after work, ran into me at the grocery store, and inundated me with text messages inviting me out on dates. Determined to move forward, I resisted her advances, and eventually I found a way to curb her persistence. I informed her that my new wife preferred her not to communicate with me anymore. Surprisingly, that seemed to be the key to a temporary reprieve. As the dust settled from the legal battles, I realized that my attempts to find another woman were met with challenges. Carly's lingering presence made me anticipate complications in any new relationship. The divorce, while legally resolved, left emotional scars that would take time to heal. The aftermath of the traumatic events pushed me into a space where I had to gather the fragments of my life and attempt to move forward. Despite the pain, I made a conscious decision not to let the past dictate my future. In the wake of the divorce proceedings, I found myself navigating the unfamiliar terrain of singlehood. Carly's persistent pursuit, though fueled by her desire to salvage what was left, only solidified my resolve to break free from the shackles of a relationship tainted by revenge and misunderstanding. As I endeavored to find my footing in the dating scene, I quickly realized that the wounds inflicted by the past were still fresh. The scars of a failed marriage were not easily concealed, and my attempts at building connections with others often felt like delicate maneuvers through a minefield of emotions. An acquaintance from the accounting department caught my attention. Cautiously, I sought the approval of Dennis, perhaps searching for some external validation in my quest for companionship. Our initial dates brought a semblance of normalcy, but she soon expressed a desire for a more casual relationship, a friends with benefits dynamic. The morning after spending a night with her, Carly's unexpected text pierced through the newfound sense of independence. Her questions about my feelings for this new person were met with a curt response, asserting that my emotions were not her concern. In that moment, I couldn't help but acknowledge the lingering sentiment of love for Carly, a sentiment that felt both bittersweet and futile. As I grappled with the complexities of dating, Carly's persistent presence continued to cast a shadow over my attempts to move forward. Her texts, voicemails, and chance encounters became hurdles on the path to healing. I found solace in setting boundaries and conveying my intent to build a life beyond the wreckage of our past. The divorce proceedings had granted legal closure, but the emotional fallout lingered. My commitment to maintaining distance from Carly, despite her pleas and apologies, became a crucial step in my journey toward personal renewal. The judge's acknowledgement of the irreparable nature of our relationship marked the official end, but the echoes of our shared history reverberated in the form of Carly's persistent pursuit. Despite the challenges, I resolved to press on, knowing that the journey toward self-discovery and eventual companionship was fraught with uncertainties. As I faced the complexities of single life, I couldn't help but reflect on the image of love I once held, an image tarnished but not irreparably shattered. As I navigate the aftermath of this tumultuous journey, I find myself standing at the crossroads of introspection and uncertainty. The echoes of a once idyllic life now reverberate with the strains of broken vows and shattered dreams. The path that led me through the highs of love and the lows of betrayal has left an indelible mark on my soul. In the quiet moments of reflection, I grapple with the fragments of a relationship that was, in its inception, a beacon of hope. The dissolution of my marriage to Carly, once bound by promises of eternity, now stands as a testament to the impermanence of human connections. The echoes of Carly's accusations and the courtroom's finality linger in the air, painting the canvas of my future with hues of solitude. The divorce proceedings, a painful theater of emotions, unfolded with a counselor attempting to mend what was irreparably torn. My resolute stance echoed in the sterile room as I reiterated my unwillingness to tether myself to a union tainted by revenge and deceit. As the legalities concluded and the gavel sealed the fate of our shared past, I stepped into a new chapter, marked by the awkward dance of dating. The wounds of a fractured marriage, still fresh, served as a cautionary tale etched into my consciousness. Despite my attempts at moving forward, the specter of Carly's persistent pursuit loomed, threatening to disrupt the fragile equilibrium I sought. In the complex landscape of post-divorce life, unexpected encounters and hesitant connections became my new reality. The prospect of finding someone who could fill the void left by Carly appeared daunting, a sentiment underscored by the lingering memory of what once was. Amidst the tentative steps into an uncertain future, one truth remains: the resilience of the human spirit. While the scars of the past may linger, I find solace in the prospect of rebuilding, of forging connections anew. As I grapple with the intricacies of healing and moving on, the narrative of my life unfolds, no longer tethered to the echoes of a marriage that was, but instead, reaching towards the uncharted horizons of what could be.